There's a number on your credit card statement that your bank hopes you never calculate. Not the interest rate, not the balance. A different number entirely. One that, once you see it, permanently changes how you read every financial decision you make afterward. Most people look at their credit card statement and focus on two things: the balance they owe and the minimum payment due. The minimum payment feels manageable. It's designed to. A $5,000 balance with a minimum payment of $100 feels completely reasonable. You pay it, you move on, life continues. But here's what nobody tells you. That minimum payment isn't helping you. It's trapping you. And the bank designed it that way on purpose. The number I want you to calculate is this: the total cost of that debt if you only ever pay the minimum, not the balance, not the interest rate. The final number, what you will actually pay, start to finish, before it's gone. Because most people have never done that math, and most banks are counting on exactly that. My name is Ted. If you've ever looked at a minimum payment and assumed it was a reasonable way to handle debt, this video is going to completely change how you see that number. Hit subscribe and give this a thumbs up. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's talk about why the minimum payment feels so reasonable. Because the trap doesn't look like a trap. It looks like flexibility. Here's the thing. When a bank gives you a minimum payment option, it feels like they're doing you a favor. You don't have to clear the whole balance right now. You pay a small amount, stay current, and deal with the rest later. That feels responsible, manageable, even smart. But here's what most people don't realize. The minimum payment wasn't designed for your benefit. It was designed for theirs. And the difference between those two things is about $9,000. Let's look at the math. Take a $5,000 balance at 22% interest, close to the current U.S. average. Minimum payment of 2% of your outstanding balance per month, which is standard across most major cards. Month 1, your minimum comes out to about $100. Fine, reasonable. But here's what's actually happening underneath that payment. Of that $100, roughly $92 goes straight to interest. Only $8 reduces your actual balance. After one full payment, you owe $4,992, nearly identical to where you started. Now here's where it gets interesting. The following month, your minimum drops slightly because your balance drops slightly, and that feels like progress. It isn't. A lower minimum means more months of repayment, which means more months of interest. The system isn't helping you exit the debt faster. It's slowing down your exit to keep the interest flowing longer. Run that all the way to the end. Pay only the minimum every single month on that $5,000 balance. It takes 30 years to clear. The total amount paid is roughly $14,000. You borrowed $5,000. You paid back $14,000. The extra $9,000 bought you nothing. No asset, no equity, just the cost of staying in the game on the bank's terms. Now compare that to someone with the exact same balance who simply pays $200 a month instead of the minimum. Same debt, same 22% interest rate. Just one change to a single number on the payment screen. That person is debt-free in about 3 years, and their total interest paid drops from $9,000 to around $1,600. Doubling the payment didn't have the cost. It eliminated 80% of it. Because every dollar above the minimum goes directly at the principal, which shrinks future interest charges, which collapses the entire timeline. And this is where it gets really important. The difference between those two people isn't income level. It isn't financial sophistication. It's one decision about a single number on a statement. And most people never question that number because the minimum feels like the safe, cautious choice. It's actually the most expensive choice on the page. Here's the insight most people miss. The minimum payment is not a debt management strategy. It's a debt maintenance strategy. There's a massive difference between those two things. Managing debt means moving towards zero. Maintaining debt means staying exactly where you are and paying the bank for the privilege of standing still. So if the minimum is the trap, what's the actual structure underneath it? 3 things. And each one is working against you in a way most people never see. The first is front-loaded interest. Most people assume their payment mostly reduces what they owe. In the early months of a high interest balance, that's almost entirely backwards. The majority of every minimum payment is pure interest. The principal barely moves. This is why you can make 12 consistent payments on a credit card and look at your balance a year later feeling like nothing happened, because structurally, almost nothing did. The second is what the balance is costing you outside the interest. Carrying a high balance raises your credit utilization ratio, one of the most heavily weighted factors in your credit score. High utilization, lower score, higher interest rates on every other financial product you use. Your next car loan, a mortgage, a personal loan. So the credit card debt doesn't just cost you in monthly interest. It quietly raises the price of every future borrowing decision you make for years afterward. The third is what I call the balance creep problem. Most people paying the minimum aren't keeping their balance frozen. They're adding to it. A new charge here, an unexpected expense there. The balance gets refilled before it drains, so the 30-year clock doesn't start once and count down cleanly. It resets constantly, which is how someone can spend 15 years making minimum payments and still owe nearly what they started with. The leak never closes because you keep adding water. Let me give you a simple way to think about it. Imagine you have a slow leak in your roof. Every month you put a bucket under the drip and empty it when it fills. The floor stays dry, you stay current, and life moves on. But the leak is still there. The roof is still damaged. You haven't fixed anything. You've just managed the symptom while the real problem sits exactly where it always was. The minimum payment is the bucket. It keeps things looking fine on the surface. But the leak, the interest, never stops running. Here's what it comes down to. The minimum payment is not a neutral option. It is the most expensive option available to you on that statement. The bank offers a range: minimum payment, custom amount, full balance. The minimum is the most profitable choice for them. It is the worst financial choice for you. Every dollar above the minimum is a direct attack on the interest structure. Every dollar at the minimum is feeding it. So if you want to actually break out of a credit card balance, here's the realistic approach. First, calculate your total payoff number, not the balance, not the interest rate, the full amount you will pay if you continue your current behavior, start to finish. Most financial apps have a payoff calculator that gives you this in about 10 seconds. Run it. The number you see will make everything else in this video feel much more concrete. Second, treat the minimum as a floor, not a target. The bank sets a minimum. That number is the starting point of the most expensive path through the debt. Any amount above it shortens your timeline and shrinks your total interest paid. Even an extra $50 a month makes a measurable difference. The math rewards every additional dollar immediately. Third, understand what that balance is actually costing you beyond what you see on the statement. A high utilization ratio dragging down your credit score is raising the cost of financial products you haven't even applied for yet. Getting the balance down isn't just about what you owe today. It's about the rates and options that open up once it's gone. Because here's the truth most people figure out too late. You can spend years making minimum payments, feeling like you're handling your finances responsibly, and end up paying nearly 3 times what you originally borrowed with almost nothing to show for it. Or you can understand how the math actually works. Change one number on your payment screen and turn a 30-year problem into a 3-year one. The minimum payment never told you any of this. The statement never flagged it. But now you've done the math, and you can't look at that number the same way again. If this changed how you see your credit card statement, make sure to hit subscribe. And I want to ask you something specific. Have you ever actually calculated your total payoff number, the full amount you'd pay if you stayed on your current path? Drop it in the comments, because most people haven't run it. And the ones who do always say the same thing. They wish they'd done it sooner. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.